We'll give it a moment here to have folks get settled in, and then we will get started. A reminder to everybody, if you have questions, I'm assuming you will, that pop up during our discussion, go down to the Q&A feature and ask your questions in there. We'll be monitoring throughout the session. And then also we're going to reserve some time at the end for questions as well. So we are about a minute in, so we'll get started. We'll take a little moment here first to do introductions. Again, thank you everybody for joining Kenneth and I. We've got an exciting partnership between Sensei Project Solutions and PMO Squad Staffing. And we think it's a great solution to be able to be out there for the industry. But a little bit about us first. Kenneth, we'll let you do some intros quickly, and then I'll come in after you.
Sure. Kenneth Steiness. I'm the founder and CEO of Sensei Project Solutions. I fell into project management 30 years ago after leaving the military. I did the scheduling there for the Royal Guards and picked up a copy of Microsoft Project when I left, and it was a good fit. So that's about how I got into project management. And now, we for years we were helping organizations do project management and set up the technology, and we were just doing the same thing over and over again. So we founded Sensei because we felt like we could do something different, bundling it into like a templatized solution that also brought the processes in. So that's the short version of my introduction, Joe. Over to you.
Yeah, and for those who don't know, I'm Joe Puz. My friends call me PMO Joe. I'm the founder and CEO of PMO Squad Staffing. Formerly, we were PMO Squad, the PMO Squad. Still focus on consulting to be able to help organizations build and improve their PMOs. But over the past 12 plus years that we've been in existence, what we've found is that more organizations needed help with talent. And about 80% of our business has been, over the past few years, have been coming from talent. So we decided to make the rebranding change this year and become PMO Squad Staffing. But again, we're still doing all of our consulting work and helping clients across the world with that. I used to run PMOs in the corporate world, and every time I would reach out to get help, either for staffing or consulting, I got help from generic staffing firms who didn't really understand project management. And on the consulting side, it was the big four and nobody else. There really weren't organizations that specialized. So that's when I said, I'm tired of complaining about what's not out there. Why don't I form the company that I wish I could have? And that was the birth of the PMO Squad about 12 years ago. What we don't have is technology, right? We're a process and people company. We're not a technology company. So one of the things we look for are organizations that have a similar culture to ours and that provide excellent service and great tools. And locally, here in Arizona, happens to be one of those companies, and that's Sensei Project Solutions. Kenneth and I have known each other for years, and then over this past year, we formalized this partnership. Kenneth, want to talk a little bit about that and what Sensei does and why a partnership with the squad made sense for you as well?
Yeah, so I think it's closing in on 10 years since I first met you, Joe, and I was always really impressed with your focus on process and the discipline of project management and the alignment with PMI. That's a really good foundation for a consulting business, for a technology provider, for a staffing firm, right? So I think what I saw that I liked was we both have a foundation in that process leg of the three-legged stool, right? People, process, technology. And I think with PMO squads, I have to get used to saying PMO squad staffing now. With PMO squad staffing's focus on really excelling at the people element and Sensei delivering the best practices on the technology side, both with the foundational process, it was just a really good fit from my perspective, and obviously company cultures as well.
Yeah. And, we've partnered with a couple other technology firms as well, but your PPM solution is unique, right? I mean, it's different than others in the industry. What makes it stand out and differentiate from some of the traditional PPM solutions that are out there?
Yeah, sure. I mean, there's been on the technology side of this, there's just been a huge transition in the last 3, 4, 5 years, right? Um, if you think about, we originally had our foundation in Microsoft Project, which Microsoft Project was actually released in 1984, believe it or not. For context, the PMBOK didn't release until 1996, so 12 years later. And it wasn't until 2007 that we had a practice standards for scheduling. So in the first, what is that, 21 years or 23 years of Microsoft Project, there wasn't an industry standard, right? So we saw an opportunity to take PMI's practice standard for work breakdown structure, practice standard for scheduling, to take, you know, industry standards and best practices and build them into the tool set. Because one came before the other, that just didn't exist, right? So that's definitely key, is that it's not just a technology, it's a technology with process offering. In addition to that, there are a number of technology differentiators as well. We're finding more and more, especially government clients, but also a lot of commercial clients, they don't want their very sensitive project data living in somebody else's cloud. So Sensei is one of the only partners globally to host a what's called a managed solution. Don't want to get too technical, inside of the client's 365 tenant. So basically, the data stays there, and we also do AI there through Microsoft's Copilot. So, but back to my first point, this transition, and I sometimes refer to it as a generational change. This transition that we've gone through, right? Um, of a little bit of a people seeking a more user-friendly, different mindset around project management. So more entry-level work management solutions and having different teams be able to use different tools. That was a key driver as well. So now we want to enable teams to work in the tools that make sense for them. Your marketing department might use Monday.com. Your developers might use Jira or Azure DevOps, and your PMO folks might use Project or Planner, right? So this transition, though, has also changed the talent requirements, I think, so on the people side of things. But you probably have more exposure to that, Joe. So what kind of challenges are you seeing with organizations in terms of finding the right talent?
Yeah, and again, this is why we're such a complementary fit for one another as organizations and the customers we serve. When we go in and we're supporting PMOs and we're helping them establish new process, or maybe even building a first PMO in the organization, what we often find is what they don't have is the talent to then work within that PMO, right? They may have some disparate project managers working within the organization that are functionally aligned, but they don't have any project management training. They're really just PMs, and we call them accidental PMs, right? People who have the role but not the title.
Okay.
So when we go in and we build a great PMO that's got the right process, and we integrate our partnerships with, as we would with Sensei, who carries that forward? Who ensures the sustainability and the longevity of what we've implemented? And that's always been a gap. And that's where organizations have been coming back to us to be able to say, you've helped us build this, but now we need to staff this. We need the right people to be able to execute it. It's not just the process and technology. It's really all three pieces: people, process, and technology together. And when you put all of those things collectively, you start to see this off-the-shelf PMO, right? The PMO that we talked about, that you have the right horsepower that can power the engine and the technology that's fueling all of that to make sure that it's able to execute. So for us, this is again where we rely on our partner network to make sure that we're able to get that sort of fit, because we miss that, right? And people process side. If I build a great PMO and they don't have the tools and technology to be able to deliver, there's bound to be failures down the road. And just having technology isn't good enough either. You have to have the right technology. You have to be relevant. You have to be able to understand the trends in the industry. And you mentioned Microsoft Project, but that's being sunset, right? I mean, that's going away. The dinosaurs of the industry are becoming the actual dinosaurs now,
Yeah.
What are you seeing about this? What's happening now with Project Online? What's going on there?
Well, we've been anticipating this for several years because, as I mentioned, the original project scheduling engine dates back to 1984, and then Project Online, uh, 12 years ago, right? So it's on an older architecture, but also the traditional PPM solutions like the P6, the Planisware, the Project Online, right? They're very, very good solutions, but they're forcing everybody into the same bucket. Like you have to do things one way, essentially. So I think Microsoft wanted to modernize their work management offering and provide a platform for the more broad PPM adoption. So again, this concept of allow teams to work the way they want and the tools that make sense for them, and then bring it all together on a centralized platform. So what's driving a lot of that too is integration into Microsoft Teams. The ability to scale on a modern platform, it's a Power Platform in Microsoft's case, and then leveraging Copilot for AI. So Project Online is not able to leverage Copilot. Project Online is legacy technology on the back end. So Microsoft stopped investing in Project Online 8 years ago and have then moved the scheduling engine over to a more modern platform. And you'll actually get a lot of the same features and functions in Planner premium plans. And then with the Power Platform, you'll basically be able to do everything else that you were able to do in Project Online before. So it's an interesting time right now. Um, we're 1 year and 5 days away from the end of life for Project Online. So a lot of organizations are scrambling right now, trying to figure out what to do. And they're basically, in a nutshell, there are two options. And Shelby can probably drop the link in the chat window here. But one, move to Planet Premium plans. That's what Microsoft wants you to do. Two, if you can't, then you can host your own Project Online in your Azure environment, but it's called Project Server Subscription Edition.
Yeah, so some options out there, of course, but that's where you rely on partners to be able to help you understand the right decisions to make because all PMOs are different, right? All organizations are different. It's not a one size fits all. Same with talent and how we work through how to get the right resources for you. I remember we were prepping for this a few weeks back, and you had asked, "Hey Joe, why did you rebrand, right? Why did you switch over to staffing?" And I had shared a story that back when I was right, 1 years old, my dad was working for General Electric back then, and they went on strike. They were his union worker, went on strike, and they were out of work for over a year. And how what do you do when you're the breadwinner, and you don't have the ability to support your family, and just so happened he had shot a deer and was feeding us with the venison from the deer, and there was a picture of us in Time magazine as a family. Fast forward many, many years later, it's 2009. I'm working at Cessna Aircraft, and I got laid off from the recession. 4 kids. My youngest was just one. My wife was a stay-at-home mom. And here I am now in the position that my dad was in. And I remember that feeling of kind of being inadequate. How do I support my family? And a fast forward again, and we're now in this time where labor market is not good in the United States. Project managers are being let go. And here I am now in a position of influence where I've built an organization that can help. And so we moved over to Squad Staffing to be able to say, I know what it's like to be in a position of needing a job to be able to support your family. And I just feel better about helping. At this stage of my career, I feel better about helping people more than companies. Again, we're not running away from companies. We're still doing all that consulting work. But if I can put people back to work, that's a difference that makes me feel good. And I think it relates to similar as you were just talking about with Project Online. That's going away. There's nothing you did as an organization that controlled that. You're a victim of the circumstance of Microsoft support. And now you at Sensei are able to help those organizations through that period to ensure they come out better on the other side, right? Um, Part of that is AI. You mentioned that in your response, right? What is Sensei doing, or what are you hearing about AI in the industry? The other side of this, right? As we're going through these generational changes and AI becomes part of the solutions now. What are you finding?
Well, I mean, it's interesting times, right? I think as a Microsoft partner, we of course have access to leverage Copilot for AI, Microsoft Copilot, and Microsoft has probably invested more in AI than perhaps any other organization out there. They're certainly right up there, and there's already really great support for project management in different areas to help PMOs build solid plans, create status report, sort of generally interact with all that great structured data. Because in project management, we have really good structured data, right? Risk register and an issues log and a schedule and all that good stuff. Well, what's gotten me most excited is the ability to go beyond these general purpose agents. So the ones that are either industry specific or project management focused. So, today the co-pilot for project management in Power Apps is a generic purpose agent, but you can either yourself or through Microsoft deploy industry specific agents that know about construction or about pharma or about whatever. And so the help that you get will be in that context. So imagine a situation where um, you might identify a risk related to a construction project, and it'll help with a mitigation plan, and maybe identify the right people in the organization to help you resolve it. Right? Those are the types of things I'm really excited about. It's still early days, though. I mean, to be realistic. And actually, maybe I can ask Shelby to drop a link to that AI video in there. But there's already some really, really cool stuff out there. And in the next 12, 18 months, it's only going to get more exciting. So, from our perspective, we're attaching ourselves to the Microsoft Copilot platform for AI. And there are already a lot of great usage scenarios out there. I think, we're showing 7 agents in that video, something like that. And they all do different things. They all specialize in different things. But we don't want to build our own AI solution and take the client's data out of the tenant. We want client's data to stay where it is. We don't want AI, any AI model to learn from the client's data and then share that elsewhere. So
Right.
again, data is just really, really important, and where data lives and how it's used, who has access to it. Super, super important when it comes to AI and language models.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, we've at PMO Squad we've had for probably over a year now had Professor Al out on our website.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that. I saw that. Go ahead. Sorry,
Yeah,
go
it
ahead.
basically integrates into a ChatGPT backend to be able to ask project management questions, and then within seconds you get a response back, right? And I know PMI has PMI Infinity out there that they utilize. The challenge with that, and Pierre and I have exchanged some messages on social media about this, is Infinity is only within the PMI domain. So all of that other great project management wisdom and knowledge that's out there, you can't tap into through the PMI chatbot, right? So Professor Al, you can do that. And then we're also working right now on the back end on some self-assessment for our organizational project delivery capability model. Right now, the only way to be able to understand where your organization is to hire us and have us come in and do an assessment. But we want to move that online and let you do a self-assessment. And based on those results, if you need our help, you'd then be able to reach out and be able to get us to help you. But that upfront work should be stuff that you should have access to. So we're using some AI capabilities to have that happen. And don't have a release date for it yet, but that's in development at the current time.
Yeah, and that's a good example of what I'm most excited about is being able to at some point down the road point out clients to not only their own data, but then maybe your AI agent to get some of that outside expertise without compromising, exposing their own data. So I think that's again the most exciting part of AI and project management for me.
Yeah. And speaking of PMI, their global summit this year is going to be in our hometown here in Phoenix, coming up November 12th. Both of our organizations will be exhibiting. We'll be right next door to each other. You want to share anything about the conference that Sensei is planning and what we can share with the folks either watching on the recording or here live?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I think obviously there are quite a good presence, I think, from Arizona-based businesses, which I'm excited about. Um, we obviously both have a really, really big presence in the exhibit hall, so that's great. But Wednesday night, after the official opening, we are co-hosting PMO Squad Staffing and Sensei are co-hosting an after party where we've rented out the restaurant at the Sheraton just down the street, up the street from the convention center. And it's going to be really great. We're going to have a DJ there. We're going to have some libations and some appetizers and good opportunity to network as well. So I'm super excited about that. I think we also both have product. What do they call product theater presentations?
Yeah.
Yeah. What's yours on?
Yeah, ours is going to be a little fun, right? So ours is hiring rock stars, not roadies. And we've all been in the organizations where you're like, man, that guy or that gal, they're just better than everybody else, right? They're the rock star project manager. You know it when you see it. And far too often, what we get from when we work with these other external partners, these staffing agencies, is the generic project manager that shows up, right? They understand budget, they understand schedule, but they don't actually drive your projects forward. So we're going to have some AC/DC style fun with our product theater presentation to talk about hiring rock stars. Um, the other thing about our after party, right? So it was LA last year, Vegas the year before, I think, or Atlanta the year before that, and then Vegas before that. And every time we've gone, because we always see each other at these conferences, we're always like, where's the local presence? Right? We're sitting in LA and there's a million things to do around you, but there's nobody from LA that's there kind of being the tour guide for you. So we got to talking and said, well, we're both here in Phoenix. Why don't we have this after party that Wednesday night is a fun night, right? It's the conference puts on a party, there's music, there's drinks, but it ends at 7. If you're from out of town, what do you do next? Right? So our mindset, like you said, it's come see us at the Sheraton, probably about a 5-minute walk away from the convention center, and keep the party going. Right? What's it, 7 to 10? I think that we're going. Stop by our booths to be able to get entry into the after party, and it's just to have a good time. If you're from out of town, which almost everybody will be, you don't want to walk back to your hotel at 7 o'clock at night. It's an opportunity to get out, keep the party going, have a good time, and set up the rest of the conference, right? Make it be a fun event for everybody. What's your product theater? What are you guys doing in there?
So we have a session, I forget the exact title now, but we have a session to kind of educate about this transition that's happening right now in our space that I mentioned earlier, the modernization, right? Of how do we, if we're using Microsoft Project Desktop or we're using Project Online and now Project Online is being deprecated, what do we do? How do we move forward, right? How do we integrate into Teams? How do we do AI? All of those things is what we're going to cover. So it's 75% educational on Microsoft's transition and then 25% on that template turnkey PPM solution that we offer through Sensei IQ.
Yeah. Because I'm super excited about our partnership. I'm super excited about the conference. We're Arizona based, but we're world class, right? Both of our organizations serve the world. If you're listening and you're not in Arizona and you think, well, I can't work with these organizations because I'm not in the Arizona region, we serve customers around the world, right? We are truly world-class organizations, and to partner with another world-class organization like Sensei is a dream come true for us. Kenneth, any kind of last items that you want to share before we open up for questions?
Well, yeah. So on that note, I mean, we have clients, last count, 42 states, 35 countries, something like that. If you go back just 5 years, Microsoft had 350 plus silver and gold partners in the project management space. But with this technology transition, about 12 organizations made it through the transition. So there are about 12 technology partners with a Power Platform solution, now PPM solution, and about three of those are based in the US. So we're very proud to have made that transition, and we're very proud to serve clients all over North America and all around the world, actually. So
That's fantastic. And thinking to the squad and other, people have asked us since we've made this rebrand, What differentiates you? Like, why should I, I already have relationships with Apex and Tech Systems and Brooksource and whoever else is out there. None of those organizations have PMO leaders vet the talent that you get. I think we're the only staffing firm in probably the world, but certainly within the United States, that every candidate that hits a client has been vetted by a PMO leader. We know what it was like to sit there and get those generic reviews and to be able to turn around that talent because we have that perspective as a PMO leader helps set us apart. We're not a staffing company. We're a project management company that does staffing, right? And that's the difference is we understand the game and we get you the talent that can deliver. So between us and combined with Sensei, we get people, process, and technology.
Yeah.
It's just a dream come true.
And if I can add to that, Joe, for years we would start from scratch with every engagement. We would go in and a consultant would ask, "Well, what switches would you like me to flip in SharePoint to turn something on?" Whereas we come in with here's how we recommend you do intake, resource management, strategy, risks, issues, changes, decisions, and so on. And by the way, these are aligned to industry standards, right, from PMI and so on. So it changes the conversation because now you're not starting from a blank piece of paper. It's easier for people to look at something and say, well, we need two more fields on the risk register or whatever, right? But being able to have all of our consultants are industry experts. They all understand project management really, really well. They've been in the trenches. So being able, and hence the name Sensei. Sensei means somebody who's mastered their craft and imparts the knowledge onto others. That is a core philosophy in our business. And it also makes it a lot more interesting for our people to be out there, without building it from scratch every single time.
Absolutely. Well, that's a little bit about us, right? We went through all that quickly, but I think informatively. If there's questions from anybody that's in attendance, pop them in the Q&A section. Um, I don't think any have come in yet, uh, but we'll give you a moment to pop it in or comments in the chat if you want to just comment on what you've heard. We'd love to hear from you as well.
You mentioned ACDC a minute ago for the product theater. Did I catch that right? Are you playing ACDC in the product theater session?
Yeah, well, I can't give it all away. Yes is the answer. You have to attend to see how we do that.
All right, fair enough. I did see a couple of questions just come in here. I don't
Yeah.
know if I missed this, but does Sensei IQ integrate with Copilot? Yeah, absolutely. So there is a link in there as well that has a video around that. But so Copilot comes in many different flavors, right? There are three versions of it baked into Planner Premium plans. And so that's really around what happens in the plan. It's helping you to build a schedule, it's helping you to create status reports, and it's helping you sort of more broadly with tasks. One of the things I'm really excited about, we did this test. You upload a document, I think it was for a piece of machinery from Caterpillar or something like that. And you say, help me do a market research on this product and it's competing or whatever. So not only can you have it build a plan for that, but you can actually assign the AI agent to do the work. And the results were mind-boggling. They were really, really good. And then you have an opportunity to engage with the agent and say, oh, but I also need price point, or I also need this, this, and this, and the agent will redo the work and serve it back to you. So that's the three that are integrated into Planner. But then you have more broadly multiple areas in Power Apps where you can integrate it into your project list or do visualizations of your project work. And it's all in that video that's in. It's called AI for PPM. So thank you for that question. I don't know if you want to take the next one, Joe.
Yeah, we've got how long is the typical engagement with PMO Squad Staffing? How can I know how long building my PMO will take? You know, there is no typical because every organization's different and your PMO needs are going to be different. I'd say the typical is the process we follow is we go in and do a discovery first, which is usually 6 to 8 weeks, not at full time. It's a partial time, 6 to 8 week to discovery. And then we'll give you a proposal on what the effort would be to build out your PMO. So discovery is kind of standard, but implementation afterwards is going to be 100% unique to what your organization needs are.
Great. I have another one here. How about portfolio management and benefits monitoring? So if by benefits monitoring, I'm assuming it's benefits realization. The strategy piece is really interesting to me. It's a little bit more of a mature use case because you kind of have to have that project, program management, portfolio management, and foundation in place. In a nutshell, we think of strategy having two distinctly different phases. One being strategy alignment. That's where you set out, whether you call them themes, pillars, priorities, objectives, it doesn't matter. You set out the themes from a strategy perspective. Then you tie those themes, or rather, you tie the projects to the themes so you can see what work do we need to do to meet the strategic themes of the organization and how are we going to measure them through strategic goals. So that part is typically phase one. That's strategy alignment, it's themes, strategic goals, and connecting to the work. Benefits monitoring or benefits realization, we call it strategy realization, is about after the fact and tracking, right? All right, we said we wanted 95% retention, employee retention, or whatever it is, tracking through net promoter scores, however you do that, the ability to track that typically after the project is done. So absolutely, it is something that's very, very important. It is typically something that happens later on in the process because you have to have the underlying data in place, all your projects in place and your people and all that good stuff.
Yeah, I have another one here. Do you have a separate approach to agencies in the federal government? And I'm not sure if that's for you or for me. Maybe we both can answer. From our approach, again, it defaults back to a yes, because again, each organization is going to be different. Each need is going to be different. We don't have a cookie cutter solution out there for PMOs. For us, everything is related to what your organizational needs are. So yeah, every organization's approach is a little bit different.
Yeah, and from a technology perspective, so Microsoft has a commercial cloud and they have the government community cloud. We operate in both, and we're actually the only partner in the world who can deploy into the government community cloud and sell the solution on what's called the GSA, which is a purchasing vehicle for the federal government. So yes, that's absolutely, it's not a separate approach. It's just the ability to support the slightly more secure government community cloud from Microsoft. So please feel free to expand on that question, though, if we didn't answer it correctly.
I think the next one may be the follow-up on that one.
Oh, yeah, I don't. Do you want me to answer that?
Yeah, go ahead.
So the nature of those two different clouds, commercial versus government, is that things always roll out in the commercial cloud first, and then they typically within 12 months trickle into GCC, the government community cloud. So the reality is that a lot of these great Copilot features that we've seen roll out in the past 12 months, they're just about hitting government community cloud at this time. So any day now, you'll start to see all the different Copilot features available in government community cloud. So not a lot of experience with that in government agencies yet.
There's one in here from Stuart. Where can you see AI helping and where we still need project managers as the AI isn't there yet or even at all? And my take on that, Stuart, is project management, the discipline, is a human-based activity. The collection of teams and driving work forward in the foreseeable future is not going to be an AI-driven activity. AI will be a tool to augment the capabilities of the human, but I don't see project management in any way in the near future being eliminated, reduced. If anything, I think the skill sets required of the rock star project manager are going to expand because of the need to be able to understand AI and the capabilities it's going to bring, which is going to make our profession even more reliant on people. So to me, um, it's just going to make us better. And it's not there yet, right? And Kenneth has kind of alluded that it's getting there. But what's your thoughts on that, Kenneth?
So I talked to my wife a lot about this. You have to have the subject matter expertise in order to successfully engage with AI, specifically around prompting, right? So it's I've seen some amazing things with subject matter expertise from in healthcare, setting up a curriculum for new courses and such, but you can only do that if you know what you're looking for and know the right questions to ask. So it's what we're starting to see now is, big in the beginning, it was sort of very basic. Help me build a plan to expand the sidewalk on Madison Avenue or whatever. So, okay, well then we're like, okay, well, why can't AI put together a status report for me that focuses on an executive level or focuses on the client or whatever? So we're starting to see the use cases mature and be more complex in nature. But you still have to have, in my opinion, a professional project manager or a project manager, a capable project manager, being able to produce those outcomes from AI.
Yeah, it reminds me, I had Harold Kersner as a guest on my podcast probably 7 years ago. And, he's on my Mount Rushmore of project management, right? And I asked him at the time, how come there's no universities offering degrees in project management, right? All of the other disciplines that we have out there have degree programs. And he said, who's going to teach it? And I thought that was so profound and so simple, right? It's the same thing with AI and project management right now. And of course, it's evolved. You're now seeing universities offer degrees in project management because the evolution of our industry as it's gotten more mature and more robust, it now can be released as a degree. I think we're going to see the same thing with project management and AI over time. Who's going to teach it today? Who's going to put it out there? It's just not ready, but you can
Right.
still use it as a tool. So I think that's kind of a comparable point.
Yeah, and a lot of other degree programs have a project management element or class in it, just to help organizations, help people learn the basics of project management as well. So yeah.
Here's a one that came in. And thanks for folks staying on long and asking questions. I'll stay as long as you've got questions. We'll keep answering. Um, although Kenneth has an important trip coming up later today. Uh, I'm inheriting an internal PMO within a utility sector CIO. I intend to reposition it as an internal PMO as a service offering where the service catalog will be a scalable tool and leverage AI in the future. How do I ensure PMO analysts stay engaged? Well, again, I think it goes back to what's your service catalog, right? The PMO value ring and the PMO CP certification that PMI offers would be one great opportunity to get consistent learning throughout your PMO team. The PMO as a service offering, I think, is fantastic to be able to offer the relevant services to your organization. The analyst should be engaged because they should be out there promoting the services that you offer and then providing those services within your sector to the organization. So we offer PMO as a service within the PMO squad as well. So we're big fans of that, and I think that should be the way of the future for all organizations. Is you truly are a service-based entity, much like accounting is, legal is, HR is for the organization. You're not building the widgets, you're providing the service to enable those widgets to be built better. So I salute the approach, and I don't see any issue why your analysts wouldn't be engaged.
If I can just add to that, from my experience, you know, instead of reinventing the wheel every time, as you're doing it the first time, develop a repeatable process, right? That's been a key success factor for us, is taking the time to document what you're doing and then improving on it over time, right? Continuous process improvement. So templatizing, standardizing your core processes, I think is really important too.
I'm not sure I understand this next question, so maybe some clarification here. What technical skill we should learn to grow from PMO to technical project manager?
My take on that maybe is we talked about it, or you mentioned it earlier. A lot of people come into project management from a technical role. So maybe folks that don't come that direction, that are not sort of promoted, the accidental project manager, right? Um, what if you're not if you didn't come in from that side, how do you, as a non-technical person, become a more technical project manager? I think that might be what the question is.
Yeah. Listen, here's a couple of thoughts on that. First and foremost is engage in the industry and start to learn the skills of a project manager. Um, if you don't know how to build appropriate schedules and manage risk and build teams and to be able to drive, those are critical. But the rock star project manager, to me, you're looking at behaviors and the soft skills. Being able to build the world's best schedule and not having a team be able to adhere to that and be able to drive the project forward, you're missing out on the most important skills. So, me, technical project manager isn't as important as capable and successful project manager. And to do that, you have to know how to build teams. You have to know emotional intelligence, negotiation, motivation. Those are all critical elements that aren't necessarily trained in PMP tests. But the rockstar project managers can go engage a steering committee, be able to take fire when it's coming at them, and to be able to respond appropriately to ensure the organization is getting what they need. Not everybody can do that. To be a true successful project manager, to me, it goes beyond technical competency. It gets into the human element once again and being able to drive projects because you understand how to drive people forward.
Yeah. And I think, Joe, there are situations where it might benefit you to not be a technical project manager because you can ask the stupid questions. You
Absolutely.
can ask the questions and lean on your team, right? And say, well, help me understand why, right? When you do the detailed scoping sessions, right? Ask all the right questions. Well, why is that the best technical solution, and what's the effort, and so on. So, not understanding a subject is not necessarily a bad thing as a project manager, depending on the situation you're in.
Yeah, I'm co-authoring a book right now that'll be coming out later this year. It's called Project Land Goes to the Movies. And each of the authors of the book are writing a chapter based on the learnings from a movie. So my movie is 12 Angry Men and how a jury of 12 strangers can come together to create a common cause. It's like 12 different people on a project team coming together to deliver on a project. When that book comes out, it's going to be fantastic because we all get movies. We all relate to them. We all have our favorites. But to then take the themes of those movies and relate them into a project management context and learn from the 15 plus project managers around the world writing their chapters is going to be great. So stay tuned for release dates and all of that on Project Land Goes to the Movies. A fun way to be able to understand some of these questions, like how do I get better at? Um, I think it'll be a good read for everybody out there.
Sounds good.
How does a normal PMO prepare themselves to transition into an ePMO? Is there a readiness assessment should the organization go through? Geez, I feel like I've got a straight man in the audience teeing up a softball question for me, but I do not know this individual. So yes, absolutely. It's called the Organizational Project Delivery Capability Assessment. And that's what the PMO squad does with our consulting team. We have 7 variables that we look at in your organization, not your PMO and not your people, but is your organization ready to have a certain capability to be able to go deliver a PMO at an enterprise level? That's the AI-based self-assessment that we're working on right now. Currently, we don't have that available for people to do a self-assessment on. But you can reach out, and certainly we'll reach out to you and ask how we might be able to help with that. But absolutely, there's a way to ensure that you don't create an ePMO that sets expectations that you can't deliver to. And usually that's not because the PMO is not capable. Usually it's because the organization's not ready for it, and the organization's not ready to receive that. So we can get together offline and we can talk through that in a little more detail. that may be it. Man, everybody really hung in there. I appreciate it. I think that one, your stance on AI, I think we've talked about that one already. Um, any last thoughts, Kenneth? It's been a pleasure to share the stage with you once again. We're going to do it again in November at the conference and another time in November after the conference.
Yeah.
Really excited to be partners with Sensei and continue our relationship as we move into the next chapter of our organizations.
Yeah, thank you, Joe. It's exciting times. Happy to be working with you and really excited about this partnership. And thanks for having me on here today.
Yeah, awesome. Well, thank you, everyone. We'll have the recording out to everybody. Connect with us on social media, and we'll follow up afterwards. Again, thanks for putting in the time. Talk to you all soon.
Thank you.